So with the college football regular season over and the bowl games are now set, I thought this would be the best time with this lull between bowl games to kind of go over my Big 12 South or Texas predictions before that I made before the season started, compared with the Dave Campbell Texas Football Magazine. Now, some of you who don't know, you may came in the middle of the year or at the end of the season now. Before the college football year started, I got the magazine, looked over Dave Campbell's picks for the Texas teams in the Big 12, and then I made my predictions on what they would do this season. And then I said at the end of the regular season, we compare and see which one of the experts, I put my quotations around me as the expert, Dave Campbell definitely is, was correct. And so, and a lot of people, mostly A&M and Tech fans, kept revisiting that because I got theirs a little bit wrong. But we'll get to that. We'll start with Baylor, though. And I was pretty high on Baylor to start the year off. Had them going 7-5, getting to a bowl game after not being in one for 15 years. And I really based it all around Robert Griffin. The guy's a playmaker, and he's a guy who really is a game changer for them. Well, the guy got hurt against Northwestern, and that kind of spiraled down. They ended up going 4-8, having a regular Baylor season, losing to A&M and losing to Tech. And if I had them going 7-5, and I had them winning all 4 of their non-conference games, beating Iowa State, beating Texas A&M, and pulling the upset in Arlington against Tech. And a lot of Tech fans were upset about that, but I thought that would be the big upset in the Big 12. Well, Baylor got close in that game against Tech. They had Zemansky at quarterback, who really hadn't played all year, but he finally, I guess, he got healthy for that game, and almost beat Texas Tech. And I really do think if Robert Griffin's in that game, they have a real good shot at knocking them off. But they didn't. Tech won, and Baylor didn't. So I think that does show you how really low on the totem pole Baylor is. They have a great player, Robert Griffin. I think he is one of the best players in the Big 12, maybe even the country. But when you lose that one guy, it turns your entire season just spiraling downward. And Baylor really couldn't compete. They did beat Missouri. They lost to Iowa State. They did beat Missouri on the road in a shootout. But you got to do more than that. But me and they came wrong on that. Dave had them going 6-6. I had them going 7-5. The only difference was them beating Texas Tech. I thought they'd do that. They didn't. So Baylor 4-8. I had them going 7-5. Dave had them going 6-6. Now moving on to Texas A&M. Man, the Aggies. I was hard on the Aggies. I had them going 4-8. I had them had the same record as they did last year, not going to bowl game, being the Big 12 South seller, and really looking like they'd have no hope. Now, I was a little bit off on the Big 12 South seller. They were second to last in the Big 12 South, but they were 6-6, and they have qualified for the Independence Bowl, play Georgia. And they're all playing. They should be. They should be excited. And I think that offense did show me they have a lot of talent on that team. And I'll give A&M credit. I gave it to them after they played us. A lot of young talent and a lot of great speed on that team. Defense is pathetic. I don't know what they're going to do on defense because they couldn't stop anybody all year. But on offense, a lot of upside, especially with Gerard Johnson playing as well he did against Texas. But the problem with A&M, and I've said it before, they're such a schizophrenic team so off and on this year. They went into Lubbock, a place they hadn't won in years, and just destroyed that. I didn't see that coming. I thought Tech would blow them out, and they blew blew Tech, out of their little dirt mounds they have over there in Lubbock. But also I had them losing to Baylor, and they pretty much stepped up and beat Baylor the way you're supposed to beat Baylor, and they played Texas tough. So they went 6-6. They played Okie State well at home, lost that game. But then they went to Norman and just got smoked by a Sooners team riddled with injuries. So it's really hard to put a finger on this Texas A&M team. But I did have them going 4-8, and I got to give Dave Campbell credit. He had them going 6-6. He was dead on with the Aggies. I'm not sure exactly if he had all of them right. He didn't have all the games specifically right, but he did get the record correct. And so I got to give him credit for that. Aggies go to a bowl game. I thought they'd be the worst team in the Big 12 South, and they're only the second worst team in the Big 12 South. So congratulations, they're Aggies. I know a lot of you were looking forward to that part of the video. Now comes to Texas Tech, and me and Dave did agree on this. I had them going 7-5, and Dave had them going 7-5. The reason I had them going to 7-5 because I thought they would lose that final game to Baylor, and I was real close with that, but it didn't come out. He had, of course, winning that game. But you look through the schedule, I had them going 3-1 to start the year. They actually went 2-2. I did not think Houston would, them going on the road to Houston, they lose. They actually did go on the road and lose to a Conference USA opponent in Houston. But Houston had a really good year this season. Beat New Mexico bad, beat Kansas State, and went and just destroyed Nebraska. I had them doing that, but I had them killing A&M too, and they let A&M come into their house. And I don't care what kind of excuses you got, A&M came and whipped the dog out of you, and I didn't see that coming. Killed Kansas, of course. Had them lose to Okie State. That was a great game in Stillwater. I got to watch that one. And then they just murdered Oklahoma. I got to give them credit for that. Oklahoma was riddled with injuries, but they gave us a game. They went into Lubbock, OU did, and they got destroyed. But then, of course, the Baylor game at the end of the year. I don't know, Texas, I don't know what happened there. I thought without Robert Griffin that Baylor wouldn't have a chance. They almost won without him. I'd like to see that game again with Robert Griffin, and just to see what happened. Maybe Tech would come and play better. I don't know, but Tech's always had a problem playing against mobile quarterbacks. Just ask them when they played Vince Young. So, I had them going 75. They had them going 75, but they went 8-4. They actually did better than my expectations this year. Then, of course, we can talk about my Texas Longhorns, and the one I really care about. And I want to get this across to a lot of people. I made those predictions, of course, when those teams did better than I thought they would. Of course, some of the Aggies and Tech fans went back to those pages and see, you suck, you don't know what you're talking about. One, guys, I'm not an expert on football. I just kind of like those predictions, and that's what I thought before the season would start. I usually suck with predictions. But as I said, the only one I care about is the one I make about the team wearing burnt orange. And I was dead on with that. 13-0 and going to the national championship. And, of course, that's what Campbell had it as well. So I guess I got to give Dave the credit on this one. I think he won this year. He assessed with the Aggies getting that dead on, and, of course, getting a little more correct with Baylor. But the Texas Longhorns go to the national championship. So I could care less if I was completely wrong about every other team. As long as the Horns do well, I could care less what all you other teams in the Big 12 South do. Texas Longhorns go to the national championship. Dave Campbell, I give him credit for this one. The dude, I love the magazine. Some people thought that I was trying to take a slap at the guy. The dude does awesome work. I just thought it'd be neat to do that. So Dave wins this one, but at the end of the year, Texas is going to the national championship, and I could really care less what A&M, Baylor, or Tech has to do with that. We'll see you guys later. Hook 'em horns, Texas fight. Hopefully we can do this next year.